What's going on, guys? Chunky back here on my channel. I'm here today for a spoiler-free review of Ready Player One. Now, before I get started, guys, I just quickly wanted to mention we're almost at 100 subs, so please jump on board, hit that subscribe button down below, and stay updated with all my future content. Now, Ready Player One is based on the 2011 novel of the same name by Ernest Cline. It's a pop culture phenomenon, one of the most inventive, interesting books that I've read in recent memory, and it's been adapted into a film directed by Steven Spielberg. So off the bat, it sounds awesome. A great premise, a great director, some really cool trailers to get us hyped. And after having seen the film, I'm here to say I did love it. It wasn't perfect, it's flawed, but where it works, it really works. Now, as always, before I get into the review itself, here's a brief plot. Set in the future in the year 2045, people use this virtual reality sort of experience. What started off as a game is now a way of life. It's called the Oasis. In the Oasis, you can do anything, be anyone. The limit is really your imagination. Now, at the start of this film, it's explained to us that the creator of the Oasis, James Halliday, has passed away. After his passing, he leaves Oasis users with a message saying that he has left an Easter egg inside the Oasis. Upon finding 3 keys and eventually finding the Easter egg, you will inherit $500 billion and basically own and run the Oasis. Now, without going into too many spoilers and fleshing it out beyond that, the film revolves around a race to find these 3 keys and basically sort of run the Oasis. I won't explain what happens after that. Now, firstly, while there are things I didn't like about this film, I wanted to start off with the positives because there are a lot. I know there have been mixed reviews out there recently, and I understand why, but firstly, let it be known that this film is a visual masterpiece. See this film on the biggest screen you possibly can. Even IMAX I would recommend. There is so much to look at, there's so much going on, and it's all great visual effects. It's a really good effort. A lot of CGI, especially in the Oasis, but I also feel like this film couldn't have been made in any other era because it requires such a heavy influence of CGI effects. But when they're there, they're really good. They're really detailed, and I just enjoyed watching what was in front of me. I didn't really feel bored at any point of this film. And of course, as you might expect, if you saw it in the trailers or you've heard about it from the book or whatever, there's a ton of pop culture references, cameos, references to the 80s and even modern day pop culture, what we would consider 2018 pop culture. It's just everywhere and it's great, and it doesn't feel forced. Everything is not so much a huge tap on the shoulder, it's just a little wink, and it works. You might not pick up everything. I think your knowledge of pop culture and your knowledge of all these references in the film will help you with its enjoyment. But the more you know, the more you'll enjoy it, really, is what I'm trying to say. And the film does really give a few good moments, a few good action-oriented moments, and a couple comedic moments that do land. There are a couple that don't, which I'll get to a bit later. But for what it's worth, a lot of scenes did work, especially the first scene with the race. Being different from the book, the race scene was just an awesome visual experience and a really, really cool intro to the film, really, just to get you invested and involved. And overall, being directed by Steven Spielberg, I couldn't help but feel that the film was just bringing this nostalgia. It was giving you a nostalgic feeling like films of the 80s, taking us back to what seems like a simpler time. It's a really hard thing to explain, but I think it's something that only Steven Spielberg can pull off. Now, getting to the negatives of the film, unfortunately, yes, the story doesn't really break any new ground. The premise, what I explained, definitely sounds interesting, but given it's Steven Spielberg, I feel like there are a lot of things that have to sacrifice. You know, there might be a forced love interest. There might be a really typical villain, typical save-the-day kind of story. And I get that's what films present to us. A lot of these stories are rehashes and really unoriginal ideas with some innovative twists. But this is no different. It's a little bit predictable, it's a little bit forced, and the story isn't perfect. It's not the redeeming factor of this film. And to top it off, the film starts off with some quite heavy exposition. The book itself is also heavy on exposition, but it's a book. It has a lot more time and a lot more context to really set itself up to its audiences before going into the really chunky, meaty bits of the story. And then on top of that, unfortunately, it's not the fault of the film, but the real world compared to the Oasis is so bland. They try and flesh it out with some really good music, some accompanying scores, and some really good character moments that take place outside of the Oasis, but they're too few and far between. The world just feels drab, it feels uninventive. The stacks are cool to look at, but we don't really see enough of the world to get a really good picture and a really good understanding compared to how developed the Oasis is. I would have liked to have seen the real world in the larger picture, in a really kind of open landscape, just to see how barren and destroyed it was. We don't really see that. Most of the film takes place in Columbus, so it's a very condensed view of what the world looks like in 2045. But being a mix of positives and negatives, I can say that the film left me with a great feeling of nostalgia. Those references and cameos really hit the spot, and I think that this film has a lot to give, though it's not a masterpiece. So to finish it off, this film is most definitely a solid watch. I would love to give it a must watch, and the more you know about pop culture, references of the 80s, and appreciate what the film's giving to you, I think the more you'll enjoy it. However, yes, it isn't perfect. There are definitely flaws. It's not a masterpiece. It doesn't really break new ground, but the visuals are fantastic. The soundtrack and the score is also fantastic. A few great action scenes and those sweet, sweet cameos to give you a huge nerdgasm at the end of all of it. That's it from me today, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Once again, if you liked the video, please leave a like down below. If you've seen Ready Player One, and if you have an opinion on it, please comment down below and tell me what you think. And last of all, guys, please hit that subscribe button down below. We're almost at 100 subscribers. Thank you for all your support so far. As always, I'm Chunky. Thanks for stopping by my world, and I'll see you guys soon. Take care.